So this blank document page for Photoshop. Now, if I go to the rulers, I can click and drag a line that comes down and I can put that, remember I'm at 5 inches, so I see how the line comes down over here, and I'll go to 2.5 inches. And I put a line right through the middle of my page. Now that's not a printable line. I can drag it away anytime I need to. I can take another line off the left side and bring it over and put it at 3.5. You see how the inches there, there's 3 and there's 3.5. So what I've done is put two guidelines to show me exactly where the center of the page is in case I want to put something centered or in quad setup or whatever. But those, you can bring in as many guidelines as you want to help establish margins or lineup type or any number of things, but that's how you do that. Now, looking at the toolbox, if I don't want to click on this little dot here or it goes away and I have to go back up to the window and find tool. Where is it? Well, it's, oh, here it is down here. Tools. I could, to open it back up again. If I wanted just to park it, I can go click on the top. Well, those two little triangles makes it single file as opposed to click, double file. This way you don't have to go so far to get things. The guys over here, these three setups, now if I click on the top, they will reduce down in size. And here's telling you there's the history and here's the navigator. By clicking on them twice, they reduce in size in case you need the space to work on. But if I click again, they come back at full size. Now, tools. This is a big toolbox, and it's got a lot of things in it that you use. Some tools a lot, some tools not so much, some tools I've never used. The most used tool is this move tool. It's got a little arrow head and these four corner things. When I click on that, that's the glyph I get. That's the thing that helps move things around. In this case, if I go to a guideline, it changes to these parallels and it helps me move that around. And it's just a selection and moving tool. This tool right here is a marquee, which is something that gives you a shape. The little triangular marks in the corners, if I click on that, it means that there's other tools in there. The rectangular marquee, the elliptical marquee or circle, little tiny marquees, horizontal and vertical. Now the rectangle and the elliptical or square and circle, I use a lot. And then as we go through these, I'll point out more tools, especially the more important ones that we use a lot. But that's what the toolbox is set up. And here's the thing about color that we'll come back to and talk about a lot. Navigator and history has to do with zooming in and out on and getting a picture. With the Navigator, I can go close, and you see as I go closer, that little round box, red box gets smaller, meaning I'm zooming in, or I can back out and I can zoom way out. You know, it can't work that small probably, but you can organize this to where you want it. And then character and paragraph. Now, character is the fonts. And it depends on how many fonts you have on your computer. If I click on mine, I've got quite a lot of fonts installed, maybe a lot more than you do, but you'll have some on your computer that you can use, and we'll go there when we talk about using font and type. The paragraph is to line them up, center alignment, left alignment, right alignment, and justified. We don't do a lot of typesetting in Photoshop. It's usually just headlines, but there is a reason, and we'll come back and see that as far as alignment. Layers is something that we'll use quite a bit. You notice there is the background layer here, and it's locked, and we'll change that very, very soon. Now, the thing I want you to do is follow me now and then come back and do this on your own. I'm going to take the rectangular tool. I'm going to put it right here in the center of my lines of reference. That gives me a center point. If I hold down the Shift key and the Option key, when I drag that, it gives me a growing from the center out square. If I hold just the Option key down, or for PC users, the Alt key, it gives me a rectangle that I can vary around, but it grows from the center out. And that's useful sometimes to get that to be where you want it to be. If I hold down, let's see, I'm going to make that go away and do it again. If I hold down the Shift key, it grows from the upper left to the lower right, a square. So it depends on how you want to set that up. Command D takes that marquee away. And I'm going to go back to where I was. Center, Shift and Option key gives you a square. Just the Option key or the Alt key centers that rectangle. So I'm going to make a rectangle that is wider than it is tall. Now, those are the notorious marching ants that's going around that rectangle. That says, you're about to do something here. What is it you want to do? Now, I'm going to hit Command D, which takes that away again, because there's one other thing I want to do before we get started. And we'll talk about those marching ants. Look over here on the layers. See the background is italicized, and there's the lock there. I can't work that layer because it comes open locked. So I click on the word background twice. Click, click. It opens one box, new layer, and I'm going to call that layer this time back, B-A-C-K, and I hit OK. And you see it's changed from over here in the layers. It's no longer the italicized version, and the word back is different than background. And there is no lock there, which means I can work on this layer. But I want a new layer. Think of a sandwich with bread and lettuce and meat and onions and tomatoes and pickles and then another piece of bread on top of that. That's layers. My second layer I can form over here now. At the bottom of the layers palette, there's a bunch of little marks here. This one that looks like a page turned up on the corner. If I click on that, it gives me a new layer. There's no color. It's the same size, but it's just a new layer. Now, in that layer, that's the blue means it's active. And if I select the background, then it's active. I can turn them on and off too with the eyeballs. See, there's nothing on there now. Now, if I turn this one on, there's no color there or anything anyway to see. But if I turn the background on, there comes the white. It's a color white on that background. All right, I'm going to activate layer 1. And right away, I'm going to change its name. Click, click. Now, the box doesn't come open now, only for the background to change it. And I'm going to change that to rectangle. I'm just going to call it rec, R-E-C. Okay. It's important that you give names to layers because you may end up with 2, 3, 4, 20 layers on a project. And you don't want to have to remember, was it 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7? Okay, on rectangle, I'm going to go back to that marquee tool. I'm going to click here in the center, hold down just the Option or the Alt key, and make a rectangle. Okay, now what color am I going to make that? Look at my color box here. There's a red and a green. If I want to change the color, I click, this is called the foreground color in front. You see it's in front of the background color, the green. If you want to change them, you hit that little curved arrow and they'll change back and forth. Okay, I'm going to go to that, and when I click on it, I get my color picker. And here's a slider here, and you can see I'm in the lower down here, I'm in the reddish oranges, and then I go into the yellows, into the greens, into the blues, into the cool reds. I want this to be some sort of orange. And so I'm coming down here in the oranges. Now, you see that little dot there? As I click on that dot, you see what's happening here? I'm making it, there's white, there's black, there's the solid color orange that I've got lined up here. And here's orange and black mixed together, which is black. Here's a combination of everything. Here's lighter, here's darker, here more orangey, here's more darky. So you're going to make a decision here. What do I want? Okay, I'm going to go over here to this right top corner, which is pretty much the orange by itself color. And don't worry about all this other numbers and stuff in here for now. But you can see the color that I select is right there. When I hit OK, that color shows up in that box. All right, now to get that color into these marching ants, that's the ants are holding a shape. It could be a square, a circle, we could make a shape. To put the orange color in there, remember I'm on the layer here, rectangular layer. On your keyboard, next to the right side command key, there's the Option key or the Alt key. If you hold the Alt key down and the Delete key, two fingers, Alt key or Control, I'm sorry, Option or the Alt key, and the Delete key, that takes the foreground color and puts it into the that shape, that square that we've got there. Now, if you want to get rid of that uh, lines, hit Command D, and there we have our rectangle. You can see too that if I turn it off over here in the layers, that I can, there it goes, it's gone away. It's not gone away permanently, but it's not there to be seen. If I turn the eye back on, there it is. So I have now two layers, one with a white background and the other with the orange rectangle. I want to make another layer. So I click over here. Remember, come down here, this little thing that looks like a page upturned. And there's layer 3. Layer 3, some click, 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 and call that a circle. Okay? Now, I'm working on that layer. I'm going to go up and get my guide here and change it to the elliptical marquee tool. And I'm going to come here, just kind of anywhere, but I'll just go back to the center for fun. And then holding down the Option key. Now, if I hold the Option key down, I get an oval. If I hold the Option and the Shift key, I get a circle. So I'm going to make a circle that's a little bit bigger than the rectangle. And it's waiting for color. There's those marching ants. So I'm going to go back to this blue, or click on the orange and make this go into the blues and find some sort of dark blue or navy blue. See, there it is, the new color. And click on that, and there it is. Now, remember, Option key and Delete key puts the color in that shape. Don't worry about the Delete key. I'm not deleting. Those are just the two keys that they picked up on to say, here's what we're going to do to put the foreground color into a given place where the marching ants are. And bingo, there it is. Now, I can take my Move tool and go back and get a hold of that and move it around anywhere I want it. If I want the marching ants to go away, Command D, and it goes away. So I can put it above or below or anywhere. Now, if I want to put it behind, watch what I can do with my layer. I grab the circle and drag it down, and so it's like sandwiches. I'm moving the tomatoes under the onions, and it's behind. If I want it in front, I can either move it up or move the rectangle back. But you can play that game with your layers. Now, okay, I'm going to select my circle. It's blued out now. It's the one that's going to move because it's got, this is called a bounding box that goes around and says that's the thing you've got a hold of with your Move tool. If I go back to the rectangle, and you see the bounding box comes around that. Now the bounding box goes to the corners, and so it's going to fill the rectangle. On the circle, it's still a rectangular box, but it only goes to the north and the west and the south and the east of that circle. All right, so let's put one more layer there. I'm going to go back to the circle, and whatever I click on, it goes on top of the one that was active. And this one I'm going to put Post, as in a post, a wooden post. And I'm going to get my marquee tool, go back to the rectangular, and I'm going to put a long, narrow rectangular right there. And then I'm going to go to its weight, and it's on that layer. Don't put it on the wrong layer, give it its own layer. And I'll go back to the blue foreground color and come down here back into the oranges and find a nice dark brown. There it is. And okay that. There it is in my foreground color. And Option Delete. It puts that color. By the way, what's the background color here? Green. How do I put background color in? Command key, not the Option key, Delete. And look, I put the background color in. So you can go back and forth if you want to. But I'm going back to Option Delete and putting the thing in as brown. And I'm going to pull that post behind the rectangle. So it's now Command D, go away, little buggy things. It's the one that's selected. It's got the bounding box, and I can move that around and put it wherever my layout says I want this to be. All right, so there we've made 3 layers, actually 4, counting the background. Some in front, some behind, some a different shape, some a different color, some placed as far as where we wanted in our layout here. The orange rectangle is centered on the page, and then everything else is balanced as we want to, depending on the graphic design thing we want to come up with. So that's a first look at using some of the tools, some of the color, and the layers that are important in understanding and moving things around. Now, we've made our own colors, our own shapes. We could take a photograph and take parts of a photograph or a cutout shield with something painted on it and begin to place that, which we will do. But for now, we're just looking at these simple shapes and how to establish layers and names and colors and use the move shape and the marquee shape to put these things in place.